Coastal defenses strained, conventional guns scarce, post-Dunkirk panic, invasion threat assessed, home guard expanded, units formed rapidly, minimal training delivered. Equipment stocks inadequate. Anti-tank capability classified as critical. War Office memoranda expressed severe concern. British industry overloaded, steel allocations restricted, artillery orders prioritized, tank production competing, conventional gun carriages, complex machining required, barrel forging difficult, skilled labor limited, designers sought alternatives, non-barrel systems considered, simplified launchers proposed, material savings emphasized, spigot concept revisited, earlier trench mortars, experimental projects referenced, prior experience examined, Lieutenant Colonel Blacker, previous ordnance work, mortar development background. Advocated spigot principle, spigot replaced barrel, projectile embraced rod. Tail section hollow, propellant charge internal, steel rod vertical, fixed to mounting. Impact face hardened, diameter specified 29 millimeters. Bomb slipped over, tail tube aligned, charge base seated, fuse located forward. Firing cycle straightforward. Breech mechanism absent. Cartridge case removed. Ejection step eliminated. Firing pin assembly located within spigot. Spring-loaded striker. Percussion cap initiated. Propellant gases generated. Bomb driven upward. Spigot remained stationary. Mounting absorbed reaction. Design offered advantages. Barrel machining unnecessary. Steel usage reduced. Weight distribution altered. War Office analysts highlighted resource benefits. Emphasized industrial simplicity. Promised rapid manufacture. Churchill took interest. While the Prime Minister briefed, personal memoranda circulated, support stated explicitly, political pressure increased, conservative leadership engaged, invasion scare ongoing, time pressure dominant, formal trials authorized, prototype devices produced, ranges selected domestically, instrumentation installed provisionally, early test series conducted at short, standardized distances chosen, target plates erected, bomb weight substantial, mass around several, kilograms depending variant, high explosive filling, tail assembly tubular, fabricated from steel, fins pressed sheet, riveted or welded, propellant composition specified, grain geometry controlled, moisture content monitored. Storage conditions critical, detonation train complex, nose fuse mechanical, gain charge intermediate, main filling explosive, trials indicated penetration. And thin armor vulnerable, thicker plate resistant, obliquity effects significant, effective range limited, practical engagement distances, roughly few hundred, meters under conditions, dispersion patterns observed, range variation notable, lateral spread measurable, accuracy considered marginal, recoil characteristics unconventional, impulse transmitted downward, base structure loaded, soil bearing capacity. Engineers calculated pressures, stress diagrams prepared, safety margins minimal, local failure possible, original mounting concept, monolithic concrete pedestal, cylindrical block cast, reinforcement sometimes included, pedestal weight considerable, hundreds kilograms typical, site selection constraint, relocation essentially impossible, emplacement process laborious, excavation works required, formwork erected carefully. Yet concrete mixed locally, aggregate quality variable, cement proportions inconsistent, curing times rushed, strength development compromised, bolt group embedded, anchored steel frame, spigot support plate secured by nuts, elevation arc assembly, segmented quadrant fitted, simple locking handle, course adjustment method, traverse capability restricted, pedestal axis fixed, minor lateral movement achieved by slewing, crew procedures standardized, gun captain appointed, layer controlled elevation, loader handled ammunition, ammunition storage regulations, defined separation distances, mandated dry conditions, specified maximum stacks, home guard manuals, illustrated firing drills, step sequences numbered, safety cautions highlighted, training grounds improvised, disused fields utilized, backstops constructed hastily. Range flags displayed, many units skeptical, perceived weapon shortcomings, compared with conventional, 2-pounder guns, loading sequence described, bomb lifted manually, tail slipped downward. Seated onto spigot, fuse safety pin, removed on command, weapon now armed. Danger arcs declared. Trigger mechanism external, simple lanyard arrangement. Operator stood aside. Pull initiated striker, misfire procedures lengthy. Waiting periods enforced. Bomb remained dangerous. Crew kept distant. Propellant inconsistencies common. Charges sometimes underpowered. Projectile fell short. Operational confidence reduced. Overpowered charges occurred. Spigot overstressed locally. Fatigue cracks propagated. Inspection regime instituted. Metallurgical reports filed. Surface hardening variations. Heat treatment uneven. Core toughness uncertain. As manufacturing dispersed widely. Multiple contractors engaged. Quality control challenging. Documentation sometimes incomplete. Some batches rejected. Dimensional tolerances exceeded. Tail tubes misaligned. Fuses incorrectly assembled. Rejected components scrapped. Resource wastage recorded. Procurement officers criticized. Delays accumulated steadily. Home guard deployment planned at roadblocks. Key junction coverage. Approach routes surveyed. Emplacements mapped centrally. Grid references recorded. Defense schemes drawn. Coordinated with infantry. Concrete base immobile. Strategic flexibility reduced. Road closures permanent. Civil complaints emerged. Alternative mount developed. Portable steel tripod. Reduced weight configuration. Still cumbersome equipment. Tripod stability marginal. Soft ground problematic. Spigot alignment drifting. Accuracy further degraded. Crew fatigue significant. Bomb weight burdensome. Movement over distance. Physically demanding task. Night operations difficult. Limited sighting arrangements. Illumination procedures basic. Error probability increased. Operational reports accumulated. Units submitted critiques. Frequent complaints noted. Terminology increasingly negative. Some crews improvising. Additional timber shoring. Sandbag reinforcement added. Unofficial modifications widespread. Ordnance board minutes. Recorded persistent reservations. Performance metrics unsatisfactory. Comparative trials unfavorable. Against 6-pounder. Blacker system inferior. Penetration clearly lower. Effective range shorter. However, production continued. Prime Minister backing. Political capital invested. As cancellation risked controversy, numbers therefore expanded. Thousands weapons manufactured. Bomb stocks issued. Nationwide distribution attempted. Transport logistics complicated. Concrete pedestals immobile. Rail movement restricted. Local casting preferred. Cement deliveries prioritized. Competed with airfields. Civil construction projects. Housing repair programs. Site surveys required. Engineers inspected locations. Subsoil conditions recorded. Bearing capacities estimated. Soft ground rejected. Rocky surfaces difficult. Anchorage holes drilled. Additional grouting recommended. Weather influenced schedule. Heavy rain delayed. Concrete pours postponed. Access routes flooded. Administrative correspondence extensive. Letters between departments. Clarified responsibility boundaries. Budget lines disputed. As cost estimates fluctuated. Material prices shifting. Labor overtime necessary. Contracts renegotiated periodically. Weapon classification ambiguous. Part mortar characteristics. Part anti-tank. Part static launcher. Training schools uncertain. Branch ownership debated. Artillery claimed jurisdiction. Infantry also involved. Documentation structure reflected. Multiple manuals issued. Amendment lists circulated. Conflicting instructions coexisted. Safety committees convened. Accident summaries compiled. Injuries analyzed methodically. Root causes identified. Frequent blast injuries. Face wounds recorded. Eye damage prevalent. Fragmentation unpredictability noted. Premature detonations documented. Bombs burst early. Crowns struck parapets. Fragments redirected backward. Tail tube separations occurred during launch. Spigot impacted sharply. Crew shock reported. Hearing protection minimal. Cotton wool recommended. Ear defenders scarce. Long-term impairment. Some range incidents. Spigot fractured catastrophically. Upper portion detached. Trajectory randomized dangerously. Post-incident inspections. Revealed manufacturing defects. Inclusion clusters visible. Improper forging practice. New inspection gauges. Introduced at factories. Ultrasonic methods absent. Reliance on visual. Resulting detection incomplete. Defective rods persisted. Field failures continued. Confidence further eroded. Home guard nicknames. Reflected prevailing attitude. Suicide weapon label. Commonly reported informally. Morale impact measurable. Preference for rifles. Improvised petrol bombs. Captured foreign guns. Commanders adjusted tactics. Positioned bombards rearward that are used as deterrent rather than primary defense. Camouflage requirements issued. Pedestals painted drab. Nets stretched overhead. Silhouette reduction. Marginal. Observation. Post-coordinated. Reported enemy armor. Relay times estimated. Engagement. Windows narrow. Simulated exercises conducted. Dummy tanks employed. Smoke generators used. Timing trials recorded. Results showed limitations. Engagement. Preparation slow. Traverse inadequate practically. Crew exposure prolonged. Reports escalated upward. Higher staffs briefed. Combined arms doctrine. De-emphasized static launchers. 6-pounder deliveries began increasing steadily. New-towed guns reached home guard. Redundancy progressively apparent. Blacker Bombard sidelined. Role reduced drastically. Secondary positions assigned. Some weapons scrapped. Steel recovered partially. While spaces left buried, paper records updated, others redeployed overseas, issued to colonies, local defense forces, lower priority theaters, technical assessments finalized, summarized overall performance, highlighted resource savings, criticized combat effectiveness, design lessons captured, spigot concept retained, adapted for projectors, naval anti-submarine Hedgehog, documentation archived methodically, drawings stored centrally, test data collated, production figures annotated, committee minutes ended, program considered concluded, replacement systems available, threat environment changed. Historians later examined, compared weapon families, classified bombard transitional, emergency expedient measure, engineering perspective detached, design met constraints, material shortages severe, timeline extremely compressed. Yeah, from crew viewpoint, risk perceived asymmetrically, self-preservation prioritized, trust in equipment, Army bureaucracy noted, perception gaps persistent, formal reports cautious, unofficial statements blunt, surviving examples preserved, museum exhibits displayed, concrete pedestals visible, tripod mounts shown, visitors observe construction, note crude machining, simple elevation gear, massive static base, technical labels describe, caliber designation stated, ammunition types listed, service dates indicated, weapon now inert, historical object only, no operational relevance, purely instructional artifact. Archival images exist, photographs show crews, stance around pedestal, bomb held vertically, analysts reference photographs, assess crew positioning, estimate exposure zones, identify blast paths, many images staged. Training scenarios depicted, demonstration days recorded, official photographers present, underlying reality documented, accident logs preserved, court-martial records, medical case notes, those documents clinically. Describe shattered limbs, report shock symptoms, detail surgical procedures, technical language dominates, measurements replace adjectives, angles, distances, pressures, penetration depths tabulated. Within those figures, weapon story resides, not heroic narrative, only constrained engineering. Designers met brief, minimize barrel steel, provide some capability, within impossible timeframe. Operational users judged, criteria fundamentally different, survivability foremost consideration. Predictability equally important. Blacker Bombard occupied. Narrow intersection space. Between industrial necessity. Adjust in tactical acceptability. Outcome now evident. System left behind. Superseded by guns. With conventional design, yet technical lineage. Continued through Hedgehog. Spigot launch retained. Under maritime conditions. Surface ship launchers. Fired contact bombs. Patterned around submarines. Ahead of vessels. Here, spigot acceptable, crew relatively distant, mount ship secured, threat environment distinct, hence assessment nuanced, concept not worthless, application context misaligned, home defense unsuitable. For Britain 1940, weapon symbolized improvisation, also systemic friction. Between policy engineering, file references remain, cabinet papers accessible, War Office memoranda, ordnance minutes available. Together these documents present unembellished account of one device among many expedients. Yeah, narrative ends administratively. Last procurement cancellation, final storage directive, surplus disposal instruction, subsequent generations encounter, Blacker Bombard occasionally, static silent object, labeled with dates, interpretation depends observer, some emphasize ingenuity, others emphasize hazard. Both views coexist. Technical archive, however, maintains neutral description, weight dimensions materials, performance curves graphs. Within that neutrality, the system fits, neither triumph category nor pure failure. Instead, classification applied, emergency measure implemented, under extreme constraints, with limited success. Engineering community recognizes such cases recur, resource scarcity pressures, compressed design cycles, risk transferred downward, from policy level to operating crews, at weapon interface. But Blacker Bombard illustrates that transfer clearly, in quantifiable ways, within surviving documents, steel billet supply, scheduled deliveries listed, ministry allocation tables, mills giving quotas, spigot rod blanks, cut from billets, length tolerance specified, end faces squared accurately, forge shop sequence, Rod heated gradually. Temperature bands observed. Color charts referenced. Press operator position. Die set alignment. Axial straightness monitored. Fixtures held components. After forging operations, rods transferred racks. Air cooling permitted. No quench stage. Metallurgist issued bulletins. Microstructure targets defined. Perlite distribution specified. Grain size limits. Sample coupons prepared. Sectioned from rods. Mounted in resin. Polished progressively finer. Etching solution applied. Micrographs then taken. Bed structures compared standards. Non-compliant lots flagged. Straightness inspection phase. Optical bench used. Deviation measured quantitatively. Maximum bow recorded. Threads on base. Machined on lathes. Single point tooling. Surface finish measured. Hardness gradient evaluated. Shore readings logged. Ends within specification. Midsection sometimes low. Corrective heat treatment. Furnaces loaded carefully. Thermocouples positioned strategically. Soak periods timed. Cooling method adjusted. Oil quench trials. Air cool variants. Salt bath experiments. Shop floor instructions. Pinned notice boards. Process sheets updated. Outdated copies removed. Gauge design department. Produced custom jigs. Spigot diameter rings. Thread pitch templates. Inspection workforce expanded. New examiners appointed. Training lectures scheduled. Practical tests administered. Pedestal-based design. Reinforcing cage layout. Bar diameter chosen. Hooked ends detailed. Cage assembly tables. Jigs ensured spacing. Binding wire applied. Overlap length standardized. Concrete mix ratios. Specified by engineers. Cement sand aggregate. Water content limits. Batching often manual. Shovel counts used. Volume measures crude. Variability therefore inevitable. Trial cubes cast. Compressive test performed. 7-day readings. 28-day. Many results marginal. Some below target. Correspondence followed promptly. Suppliers questioned formally. Pedestal shuttering carpentry. Timber panels reused. Dimensional drift accumulated. Edge squareness affected. Bolt groups positioning. Templates anchored centrally. Verticality checked repeatedly. Spirit levels employed. After casting completion, surface troweled smooth. Anchor bolts exposed. Threads greased lightly. Curing protection measures. Hessian covers applied. Occasional water sprinkling. Wind shielding improvised. Tripod mount fabrication. Structural tubing selected. Leg sections cut. Feet plates welded. Weld procedures scripted. Electrode types listed. Current ranges recommended. Visual criteria outlined. Random sample testing. Fillet, weld macro sections. Ground polished etched. Fusion depth measured. Tripod joints articulation. Pinned, heads fitted. Bushes machined precisely. Lubrication points drilled. Central yoke machining. Carried spigot trunnions. Board hole dimensions. Concentricity critical parameter. Elevation quadrant stamping. Angle markings pressed. Scale numbers painted. Reference lines scribed. A protective coating specified. Red oxide primer. Overlaid service finish. Standard olive tone. Paint shops crowded. Multiple contracts parallel. Drying racks overloaded. Occasional contamination incidents. Ammunition body manufacture. Steel tube lengths. Formed by drawing. Seamless construction preferred. Nose portion shaping. Forging dies employed. Profile conical segment. Wall thickness tapered. Tail tube machining. Internal bore tolerance. Surface roughness limited. Circularity tightly controlled. Fin units production. Sheet steel blanks. Stamping presses used. Ribs pressed intermediate. Fin attachment methods. Spot weld lines. Rivet patterns alternatives. Both options documented. Explosive filling plants. Located remote countryside. Earth banks constructed. Blast walls interposed. Filling process sequence. Bodies cleaned internally. Moisture removed thoroughly. Heaters operated continuously. Melt kettles temperature. Maintained within band. Operator recorded readings. Supervision staff cross-checked. Molten explosive pouring. Measured ladles employed. Top-up passes. Void elimination required. Cooling regime controlled. No rapid chilling. Crack formation risk. Crystallization behavior monitored. After solidification checks, X-ray sampling. Density variation assessment. Voids sometimes identified. Defective fillings drilled. Explosive removed cautiously. Casings reprocessed later. Losses entered ledgers. Nose fuse workshops. Precision screw machines. Turned brass components. Thread forms standard. Striker spindle grinding. Surface finish fine. Axial motion free. Side play restricted. Safety detent design. Ball bearing elements. Spring tension calibrated. Release thresholds measured. Detonator insertion stage. Carried out segregated. Static precautions minimal. Cotton garments recommended. Fuse timing characteristics. Nominally instantaneous impact. Some variants graze. Delay elements experimental. Testing arenas prepared. Sand butts constructed. Steel plates mounted. Angles adjustable frames. Fuse reliability sampling. Drop tests conducted. Various attitudes trialed. Misfire percentages computed. Tail propellant charges. Cordite sticks bundled. Bag arrangements developed. Waxed wrappers sealed. Charge weight variations specified within ranges. Batch records maintained. Moisture readings logged. Combustion pressure curves. Laboratory guns produced. Instrumented spigot rigs. Copper crusher gauges. Velocity distributions measured. All standard deviation figures. Input to ballistic. Range table preparation. Packaging department operations. Bombs fitted fuses. Propellant tails attached. Safety caps placed. Individual units wrapped. Oiled paper envelopes. Corrosion risk mitigated. Marking stenciled externally. Wooden crates construction. Softwood planks used. Metal straps fitted. Corner blocks inserted. Crate marking system. Lot numbers large. Filling factory code. Manufacture month year. Documentation envelope inside. Packing list slip. Inspection stamp details. Weight declaration figure. Transport from factories. Rail wagons loaded. Shock limit stated. Shunting speeds restricted. Main depots receipt. Storekeepers logged consignments. Ledger lines extended. Stock cards updated. Storage magazine layout segregated by lot. Passageways left clear. The firefighting equipment position. Temperature levels monitored. Hygrometers occasionally installed. Condensation problems reported. Roof repairs ordered. Periodic sampling orders. Taken from stocks. Retested performance. Aging effects quantified. Home Guard unit. Demand signals issued. Divisional ordnance channels. Allocation priorities set. Lorry convoys dispatched. Routes plotted centrally. Bridge classifications checked. Weight limits respected. Arrival at battalions. Quartermaster staff present. Receipt signatures obtained. Shortages annotated immediately. Local storage measures. Nissen huts adapted. Ammunition racks improvised. Security constraints minimal. Training documentation printing. Government presses tasked. Manual pagination finalized. Diagrams commissioned. Illustrators. Print run scheduled. While paper allocation authorized. Ink stocks rationed. Binding contracts awarded. Manual content structure. Front matter definitions. Safety statements early. Technical data appended. Drill sequences tabulated. Numbered movement sets. Command phrases standard. Error notes appended. Amendment procedure formal. Loose leaf inserts. Change numbers assigned. Superseded pages removed. Instructor courses location. Central schools designated. Experienced officers posted. Syllabus outlines drafted. Course timetable breakdown. Mornings classroom theory. Afternoons range practice. Evenings maintenance instruction. Student assessment method. Written test papers. Practical handling checks. Range conduct observation. Feedback forms collated. Comments coded numerically. Recurring themes highlighted. Forwarded higher authority. While accident investigation protocol. Immediate cordon established. Witness statements taken. Scene sketches produced. Fragments collected systematically. Spigot remains measured. Fuse parts recovered. Metallurgical samples preserved. Board of inquiry. Membership list specified. President senior officer. Technical advisor attached. Proceedings followed template. Opening summary read. Evidence sequence fixed. Recommendations section mandatory. Typical recommendations included revised safety distances, modified standing positions, additional shielding suggested, implementation tracked bureaucratically. Action numbers allocated, progress reminders circulated, completion dates recorded, procurement chain complexity. Multiple directorates involved, artillery requirements branch, infantry equipment branch, ministry interface meetings. Minutes typed neatly, copies distributed departments, filing references assigned, budget estimates submitted, vote headings relevant, capital expenditure spigots, consumables, ammunition items, treasury queries raised, unit cost calculations, comparisons other weapons, staff responses drafted, occasional production pauses, awaited financial approvals, cash flow concerns, contractor complaints lodged, inspection staff redeployment, shifts altered frequently, other programs urgent, priority tables reshuffled. This affected Bombard. Some lots delayed. Inspection backlog growing. Storage congestion increasing. Modification. Proposals surfaced. Longer spigot option. Revised fin design. Improved site arrangement. Trials authorized selectively. Small batches altered. Comparative firings arranged. Reports written afterwards. Give frequently outcome negative. Benefits not decisive. Complexity increased slightly. Change therefore rejected. Occasional local innovation. Units added shields. Timber plank screens. Earth mounds front. Official stance cautious. Unapproved modifications discouraged. Liability questions noted. Manuals left unchanged. Intelligence summaries referenced. Enemy armor trends. Increased frontal thickness. Skirt protection occurrence. These changes reduced. Bombard. Theoretical effectiveness. Penetration margin decreased. Obsolescence trajectory clear. Yet, policy coordination lagged behind reality. Formal replacement declarations issued only gradually. Stock disposal planning began during transition. Segregation by condition, serviceable versus scrap, live bombs earmarked, demolition range use, fuse removal teams. At burning ground facilities, spigot rods surplus, considered for repurposing, pile foundation rolls, training dummy uses, many pedestals abandoned, map records annotated, location sketches archived, no excavation funded, post-war land sales, occasionally revealed pedestals, farmers reported obstacles, removal costs debated, salvage firms contracted, offered lump sums, metal components lifted, concrete broken mechanically. Museum selection committees chose representative examples, condition reports compiled, transport cradles fabricated, curatorial notes prepared, acquisition justifications written, interpretive themes outlined, label text drafted, conservation measures implemented, corrosion inhibitors applied, paint layers stabilized, missing parts fabricated, exhibition mounting design, visitor sightlines considered. Yes, barrier distances measured, information boards positioned, archival description work, catalog entries created, keywords assigned carefully, cross-references inserted, researchers requesting access, fill retrieval forms, order file bundles, consult reading rooms. Technical historians focus on specification changes, procurement pattern shifts, operational feedback cycles, oral history projects, interview surviving personnel. Transcripts then edited, deposited with archives. Many interviewees emphasize alternative weapon preference. Comment on Bombard, using restrained language, data synthesis exercises, combine narrative sources, merge quantitative records, generate balance assessments. Within these syntheses, Blacker Bombard appears as constrained product of particular circumstances. Engineers prioritize throughput, as accepted heightened fund variance, documented the limitations plainly, raised concerns formally, decision makers weighed those cautions lightly relative to urgency, political context prevailing, risk then distributed across dispersed crews, each emplacement isolated, each firing independent. Later analytical frameworks would describe situation using systemic risk. Allocation terminology modern. At time, however, language remained transactional. Issues framed locally, files closed routinely. From vantage point of contemporary observer, system offers illustration of emergency procurement. Design methods accelerated. Verification stages truncated. Operational use concurrent with continuing development. Such patterns recur during high-pressure, industrial mobilization episodes across multiple conflicts. Blacker Bombard case, which provides concrete instance, literally through pedestals, figuratively within documentation. Its components persist in physical collections, within photographic sequences, inside administrative records. Together, these traces permit detailed reconstruction of object lifecycle from drawing board through factory stages into depot networks, forward to emplacements, finally towards obsolescence. For technical study, this lifecycle sufficient, no embellishment required, no narrative coloring. Data tables dominate over anecdotal recollections. Failure rates listed, ranges penetration curves. From such data, analysts can derive measured conclusions today regarding effectiveness levels. Those conclusions delineate narrow tactical niche, constrained engagement envelopes, questionable cost exchange within broad inventory. Yes, Bombard occupies slot, marked as provisional, marked as superseded, yet organizational memory retains its presence within training anecdotes, within institutional folklore. Engineering records nevertheless maintain primary account, neutral structured factual, precisely as preserved.